boy hero just because I can only do one. So I'm going to give you a little bit of kind of an intro just to get your mind around it. This will go real quick. So bear with me, I'm using my phone. All right, so everybody, when we're faced with the strengths and weaknesses of others who seem so different from us, the natural inclination from oneself is to compete or shut down, especially from those who are the most vulnerable stages of their life, like children and elders. Courage is hard to find in the darkness, but also in the light. This is because true courage comes from within by having nothing at the same time. Understanding yourself and other people at the same time is a constant balancing game, which most people don't want to play or be bothered with until it's too late. Many people like to run headfirst into trouble, and this may seem foolish, but someone must be the first to break new paths after the process of a renewed self has begun. Every day is a new day and a chance to try again. For every death is a great life, and for a chance for a new life to be born. So let me start you off by telling you this fable, a fable about the lamb ram and the dragon Swan. So this is one of the greatest stories ever told, y'all. One about a young lamb and an elder dragon. The young lamb was born on the first day of spring in the west. He was the son of a mighty herd of wild mountain sheep. He had many family members. Lamb had so much energy and passion for life. All he could pay attention to were the emotions and movements of the herd. Lamb's herd had many other ewes and many other young lambs. Lamb's father was named Ram, who led them all. And Ram led his sheep people to new green pastures, new water, and new safety high up on the high grounds. One day, though, a young rival ram came to challenge Lamb's father for the right to lead the flock. Lamb's father knew what was coming for him, so he challenged the young ram to fight him on the top of a plateau where everyone could see and judge the winner. The younger ram accepted this challenge and burst up the plateau with lightning speed. Lamb's father was so caught off guard by the younger ram's speed that he had no time to turn around. And the younger ram headbutted the older ram so hard in the back that both of them lost their balance on the edge of the plateau. The sheer force of the charge sent them both over the edge, and they both fell to their deaths below. And this event was so shocking to the herd of ewes and lambs, who then became leaderless, that their unity fell apart, and the herd dissolved into a bunch of individuals who went their own separate ways. Lamb went with his mother, but the loss of his family flock left him with an emptiness which turned to anger. Lamb's mother led him high into the mountains, where she sought very few grass shoots and shrubs to eat, but mostly for herself. Eventually, the weeks passed. Lamb grew stronger, but he also grew angrier, and his mother left him in his bad mood to find her own way. Lamb was all alone for the first time in his young life, and for the first time, he realized he was a single individual being. This caused Lamb so much fear and resentment that he grew even angrier, which hid his sadness over being lonely. He wanted to hit trees and rocks with his small budding horns just to see if they would break. It became a great game for him to smash anything he fancied. One evening, Lamb found a cave at the top of a mountain, which had many bright shiny rocks, which looked fun to break apart to Lamb, and Lamb backed up for the charge, and he ran head first into the shiny rock in front of him. Bam! Lamb hit the rock, but instead of breaking it, he bounced off the rock. He was made dizzy by the force of the charge, but he regained his consciousness. As he opened his eyes, Lamb realized the rock was moving. In fact, the rock was much bigger and shinier than he had realized originally. Suddenly, the rock turned around to show a mighty, terrifying face, and Lamb froze in fear, mesmerized by the creature. The monster spoke with a deep voice. "Who dares strike my rear and wake me from my slumber?" Lamb was horrified, but he still had the same anger and curiosity that brought him into the cave, which allowed him to snap out of his fear and shout back in a sharp young voice, "I am Lamb, sir." The monster was so surprised by this act from such a small being that he began to laugh. "Ha, ha, 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 I am Elder Dragon, young Lamb, and you've entered my lair where I eat little sheep like you." Lamb was now petrified with fear, but his energy compelled him to hold his ground, and the dragon stared right through the little lamb. Lamb finally found the courage to speak. "I'm not afraid of you, dragon, because my father already died and my mother left me alone. And you have a shiny butt, dragon, and anybody with a shiny butt like you cannot be scary." And the elder dragon found this rude statement so hilarious that he began to laugh hot air and smoke. You are foolish, little lamb. I could crush you just by sitting on your head. This made Lamb angry. Lamb had already lost his herd family, so he felt like he had nothing else to lose. Lamb charged again at the old sleepy dragon, and the dragon was caught off by this move of arrogance, and he now was agitated. You've disturbed my rest, Lamb, but I like you, so don't make me eat you. It's time for you to go. Make me, said the little lamb, and this made Dragon angry. Dragon, now fully awake, began to cough to show Lamb what great power he was up against. The cave became so hot that Lamb's hairy wool began to burn, and Lamb ran like crazy out of that cave just as the dragon erupted into a ball of fire and sound so powerful the mountain shook. Lamb barely made it out of the cave alive without being consumed by flames. As the mountain shook, the entrance to the cave burned and collapsed behind the lamb. The dragon was buried underneath the force of his own fury, and Lamb held close to the mountain for dear life until the earthquake stopped. After the dust settled, Lamb began to realize what happened and what he had done to that poor old dragon. Lamb watched the pile of rubble that had once been a cave, and Lamb shouted for Dragon. Dragon, Dragon, are you still alive? No answer. Dragon, I'm so sorry. All that I wanted was to be a mighty ram like my father. And Lamb felt all alone once again for the second time in his young life. He thought the dragon was his enemy, but in fact, Dragon was the only one who spoke to him respectfully and honestly. Suddenly, the rubble of the cave began to move. Lamb stood back and watched a scene that baffled his mind. Out from the rubble emerged the most elegantly handsome yet powerful animal Lamb had ever seen. A giant swan emerged from the rubble. Lamb was mesmerized again by this new alien creature. Dragon, is that you? Lamb said. The giant swan laughed. Ha 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 ha. Perhaps I was the dragon. But now my name is Swan. And Lamb was speechless. I know what you want, little lamb, said Swan. You do? Said Lamb. Yes, said Swan. You want the path to freedom, love, and respect, and you want the right to lead your people like your father and his father before him. This path is not easy, and you've taken this challenge to the top of the world where true power lives. There you have found your greatest challenge and friend. You see, little lamb, I used to be a bitter old dragon who slept many years awaiting a worthy challenger. Instead, my own fury and destructive nature collapsed my world upon me. Now I emerge refreshed, a new being with new purpose. Now my name is Swan, the leader of fairness, balance, and I shall travel the world seeking justice and peace. You've set me free from my old self, little lamb, and in return I'll give you a new name, for you are no longer a little lamb. Giant Swan took a deep breath, spoke again, and said, Henceforth you shall be known as the great heroic Ram, and I know you will lead your people well. Ram was overcome with joy, pride, and spirit, a great spirit that erased his anger. Then the giant swan expanded his mighty beautiful wings and said goodbye to the great heroic Ram. As the swan took flight, Ram shouted, I love you, Swan. And Swan turned back and said, I love you too, Ram. And they parted ways forever.